Dear students, welcome to Tungal online classes. In the last video, we were discussing different technical terms so as to use to describe the flower. Okay, so those terms that we discussed in the last class, so some of the examples were given for particular condition or the term so as to describe the flower. So like some of the conditions like perianth, as we have discussed, so where calyx and corolla are not at all distinguished, right? So example they have given in NCERT book, so they are very important. So here for perianth in NCERT they have mentioned lily is the example. In monocots usually perianth condition is seen, I have already mentioned. In the same way, actinomorphic, zygomorphic as well as asymmetrical flower. So based on the symmetry, so there are different types of flowers, different types of terms that we use for particular flower. So that is actinomorphic flower. So this is radial symmetry. It is also said to be as this term is given in NCERT. So try to focus on those words which are so given in NCERT. Okay. So actinomorphic flower, the best example for this one are mustard, datura as well as cherry. And along with this one, so zygomorphic is there. So this is so one symmetry of the flower where the flower is cut into two equal halves in only one plane, right? So that is the zygomorphic flower. So Gulmohar, bean as well as cassia are the examples given or the mentioned in NCERT book itself, right? So next one is asymmetrical flower. So it is not at all cut into two equal halves in any plane. So that kind of flower is called as asymmetrical flower. So the best example for this one is Kenna given in NCERT book. In the same way, hypogynous flower, epigynous flower as well as perigynous flower are the three kinds of flowers based on the insertion of floral leaves, right? So whether they are inserted below the ovary, then the ovary is said to be as superior. So that kind of flower is said to be as hypogynous flower. The best example for that one is mustard, China rose as well as brinjal. In the same way, perigynous flower, plum, rose as well as peach are the best example for this one. And along with this one, so epigynous flower, guava, cucumber as well as ray florets of sunflower. So that way many of the key examples are given in NCERT. So this kind of questions may be asked in the NEET examination. So that is, so match the followings. So this kind of question may occur over here. That moment what happens, the different conditions are given on one side, so side A, and on side B examples are mentioned over here. So that's why we must be aware of all these examples and we should so keep in our mind regularly all these examples, right? So I hope you will do it very sincerely. And let us start with the next technical terms that we are using for describing the flower. Now what is that? So trimerous flowers, so tetramerous flowers as well as pentamerous flowers are the different so flowers that we come across. So what do you mean by trimerous? So trimerous means, tri means three. So merous stands for, so here petals. If the petals are three or the multiple of three, then such kind of flowers are said to be as trimerous flowers, right? So in the way tetramerous flower, you can understand tetra means four. So four petals or the multiple of four petals may be present in the flower. So in the same way pentamerous, so five petals or the multiple of five petals, right? So like this, so the different terms are used over here so as to describe the flower. So what are those one? Let us see now. Trimerous flower means three petals may be present or multiple of three petals. The condition is said to be as trimerous flower. and the second one is tetramerous. Tetramerous flower means what? 4 petals may be present or the multiple of 4 petals. In the same way, pentamerous. Pentamerous flower. In the same way, it is 5 petals or the multiple of 5 petals. So this is how. So these are the 3 terms used to describe the flowers with 3 petals, 4 petals as well as 5 petals or the multiple of 3, 4 and 5 petals. Right? So what are those terms? They are trimerous, tetramerous as well as pentamerous flowers. So these are some of the technical terms which are given in NCERT, as well as some of the extra terms are also mentioned by me over here. And next one is, we'll start in detailed, so the explanation about the accessory words. So what are these accessory whorls? You know it better. How many 4 whorls are there in one flower? You know it better. That is 4 whorls are there, right? In 4 whorls, 2 are accessory whorls or extra whorls, and another 2 are said to be as an essential whorls of the flower, right? So what are those one? Let us see one by one now, right? So here we will start with accessory whorls of the flower. Accessory whorls of the flower. So what are the accessory whorls here? Calyx as well as corolla are the accessory whorls that we come across over here. Okay. So these 2 accessory whorls regarding which we are studying in detailed manner, right? So there are some conditions that we come across as to describe the flower. There are some conditions, means several terms are used based on the presence or absence of both of these accessory whorls, or a single accessory whorls may be present, or there may not be accessory whorls in some flowers. So such kind of different terms that we come across over here. What are those terms? Let us see now. So first one is heteroclamidious condition. It is the condition in which both the accessory whorls calyx and corolla are present, but they are easily distinguishable one. So then the condition is said to be as heteroclamidious condition. It is also called as diclamidious condition. Example for this one is hibiscus. Example for this one is hibiscus. As you know, in hibiscus flower, calyx are containing sepals and they are green in color, and corolla is colored one, brightly colored one. So that kind of easily distinguishable. So accessory whorls are present, then the condition is said to be as what? Heteroclamidious condition. And second one is homoclamidious condition. So what this condition says? Homoclamidious condition is the condition in which both the accessory whorls are present, of course, and both are not easily distinguishable one. So example for this one is Michaelia champaka. In this flower, both calyx and corolla are green in color. That's why we cannot distinguish them, right? That condition is said to be as homoclamidious condition. Example for this one is Michaelia champaka. Right? Michaelia champaka and Enona squamosa is also the example for this condition. And next condition is monoclamadyous condition. What do you mean by mono? It is a single. Only one accessory whorl is present in this flower, then that flower is said to be as a monoclamadyous flower. So the best example is Sterculia is example. Only one accessory whorl is present in this one. And the next condition is, so achlamydious condition. What do you mean by that one? Achlamydious condition. What do you mean by this achlamydious condition? The name itself suggests what? So here absence of the accessory whorls of the flower. So if accessory whorls are totally absent, that kind of flower is said to be as naked flower. It is said to be as, okay. So they are also called as naked flowers. These are also known as naked flowers. The best example for such kind of flowers are male as well as female flowers of euphorbia. So these are the examples for what? Achlamydious condition, right? So this is how, so based on the presence or absence of these accessory whorls, so there are different conditions that we come across, and so as to describe those conditions, so there are different terms that we use now, right? So next one is perianth condition. So already I have mentioned what is perianth. It is the condition in which calyx and corolla are not at all distinguishable one. So then the condition is known as what? Perianth condition, right? So it is the condition in which both calyx and corolla are not distinguishable one, then the condition is said to be as what? Perianth. So this perianth is usually seen in many of the monocots. In monocots usually it is seen, right? So where calyx and corolla are both having the same color sometimes, right? Both calyx and corolla are having the same color. So this condition is said to be as, both are green in color usually. So this condition is said to be as perianth condition, right? And each part or the segment of perianth is called as tepal. Very important term it is. So you know, in calyx sepals together form calyx. In case of corolla, all petals together form corolla, right? So these are the different whorls of the flower. In the same way, one whorl, that is nothing but perianth. So it may be single whorl or two whorls which are not distinguishable one. So in this condition what happens? So here each segment of the perianth whorl itself is said to be as a tepal, right? So these tepals may be green in color. They may be green in color. So hence we cannot distinguish which is calyx, which is corolla. Sometimes in some of the flowering plants, flowers, what happens? These tepals are so colored one. They are brightly colored in nature, and such kind of the tepals are said to be as what? It is petaloid. It is said to be as petaloid condition. Tepals are colored, brightly colored in nature. So Gloriosa superba is the best example for this kind of flower. Okay. So this is about what the condition is called as perianth condition. So after this one, particularly we go through one whorl of the flower, that is calyx. So what is this calyx? You know, already I have explained. So by drawing the diagram of the flower itself, so it forms the outermost whorl of the flower, right? So it forms an outermost whorl of the flower itself, right? So an outermost whorl of the flower, and this calyx is consisting of what? Consisting of sepals. Here all sepals together form what? A calyx itself. So there may be 5 sepals or more number of sepals may be present over here. These sepals all together form what? So calyx itself, right? Sometimes this calyx may be colored, right? So sometimes this calyx also be colored in nature. So it is colored in nature, and it is said to be as a petaloid once again. What it is termed as? Petaloid sepal it is termed as, right? And this sepal, right, or the calyx may wither out soon after the what? Flowering or blossoming of the flower, right? When flower blossoms, when flower blossoms, then the calyx wither out. Hence it is called as caducous. The condition is called as caducous condition. Means withering of this calyx take place soon after the flowering or blossoming of the flower. It is said to be as what? Caducous one. Sometimes it is being persistent, right? Persistent calyx. Persistent calyx means what? So it remains even though the fruit has been formed. Example, in brinjal, you have seen that on the brinjal, the calyx greenish colored structure which is always attached with the fruiting body, so that fruit itself, right? So that kind of calyx is said to be as a persistent calyx, right? Persistent calyx. It is the calyx which remains even though the fruit is formed. Even though the fruit is formed, along with the fruit, this calyx remains there. Actually, after the formation of fruit, so they wither out. Petals, sepals, they wither out. The condition is said to be as what? So caducous one. So it is persistent in nature sometimes. Okay. Along with this one, the terms which are given in NCERT are, so what is that? So here calyx which contains sepals. If the sepals are free, then the condition is known as polysepalous condition. What is the condition known as? Polysepalous condition. These are very important one. Polysepalous. Polysepalous condition means what? Sepals are free. Okay. Sometimes these sepals are fused. In case of hibiscus, you are very easily identify all the sepals are fused, then the condition is said to be as gamocephalous condition. What is that? Gamocephalous condition. Gamocephalous condition means what? So here the sepals are fused. Here sepals are fused. If the sepals are fused, then the condition is said to be as gamocephalous. So this is the first condition and this is second condition, gamocephalous one. Okay, so these are the conditions of the calyx itself. Then what are the functions of this calyx itself? Functions of calyx. So there are some functions are there with this calyx. What are those one? First one, sometimes the calyx is colored one. Sometimes the calyx is colored one, then it helps in attracting the insects towards the flower for pollination. Okay, it helps in attraction of insects towards the flower. So then it helps for pollination. So here, so this condition itself is said to be as entomophily condition. It is said to be as entomophily in the sense that pollination take place through insects, right? So for this kind of pollination, so sepals would help for this one. Means sepals are colored in nature and they attract the insects towards the flower, and that leads to what? Cross pollination. That kind of pollination is called as entomophily. Okay, so this is one thing. And the second function, since sepals are green in color, they perform photosynthesis. Sometimes, so what happens here? So photosynthesis is performed by these sepals itself, right? So this is also one more function of what? This sepal or calyx. And one more function of this one is, that is, it is protective in nature. This is the major function of the calyx itself. Calyx always help in protection of the entire flower. So keeping it outside, it means it makes the outermost whorl and protect mainly in bud condition, right? It helps in protection of flowers in bud condition. So these are the important functions of this calyx itself. So next whorl of the flower is corolla, right? Here corolla is it forms the second whorl of the flower. It forms the second whorl of the flower itself, right? And it consists of petals. So it consists of petals, and these petals are, so they are thin, delicate, colored ones. They are very thin, very delicate and they are colored one, right? So since these are colored one, they also help in attraction of the insects towards the flower. So they help in attraction of insects towards flower, right? So that leads to what? Pollination. That leads to what? Pollination. And these are the petals. If they are absent in the flower, then it is said to be as apetalous flower. Apetalous flower in the sense that, so here absence of petals. Absence of petals. This is the condition we can see. In dichlamydous condition, here calyx and corolla are easily distinguishable one. So the condition in case of dichlamydous, and in monochlamydous, so what happens here? Only one whorl of the flower, accessory whorl of the flower is present. That is, in this case, petals or the corolla is the whorl present, right? In monochlamydous condition. In dichlamydous condition, both accessory whorls are present over here, In monochlamydous condition, only one whorl, especially here corolla is present over here in this condition. Okay, so very important terms are apetalous flower, and in a dichlamydous both the whorls are very easily identified and present over there, and in monochlamydous corolla is easily seen over here. And very important terms related with this one is, so sometimes these petals are fused. Then what is the condition called as? If the petals fused, then the condition is said to be as gamopetalous condition. If the petals are free, then the condition is said to be as polypetalous condition. First one is gamopetalous. Gamopetalous condition. So what is this term indicating? Here petals are fused. Petals are fused. And the next condition is polypetalous. Right? Polypetalous in the sense that petals are fused. Petals are free. Petals are free, they are not fused, then the condition is said to be as polypetalous condition. Gamopetalous condition means what? Petals are fused over here. In Datura, all the petals are fused. In Datura, you have gone through the structure of Datura flower, so there all the petals are fused there. Then what is the condition known as gamopetalous condition? So many of the flower, they are having free petals, then the condition is said to be as polypetalous condition, right? So these are the conditions related with the petals itself. There are different forms of these corolla that we come across. Sometimes what happens, here all the petals are fused, forming some shapes, right? So based on that, different forms of petals or corolla that we come across. Forms of corolla. What are the different forms? Here, first form is tubular. Tubular corolla that we come across. Usually, so the petals fused so as to form a tube-like structure. That kind of tube-like structure is seen in case of disc florets. Disc florets in sunflower. In sunflower, disc florets have tubular corolla. And second one is bell-shaped. Bell-shaped, right? So bell-shaped corolla that we come across over here, and bell-shaped corolla are usually forming a shape of the bell or bell-shaped. So they are seen usually in case of pumpkin. In pumpkin flower, you can observe bell-shaped flower over here. And after this one, funnel-shaped. Funnel-shaped, so corolla that we come across in case of, datura. Right? In case of datura, you will find funnel-shaped flower that you come across. And fourth one is wheel-shaped. Wheel-shaped corolla that you come across in case of ixora, and so sometimes in case of vinca rosea, or it is called as periwinkle. So in that case, you will find, so what kind of a shape of the corolla? That is wheel-shaped one. So these shapes and their respective examples are very important to understand, right? So tubular, bell-shaped, funnel-shaped as well as wheel-shaped corolla that we come across. These are different forms of corolla that we come across over here. Next important concept is, that is estivation. What do you mean by estivation? So this estivation is nothing but the arrangement of sepals as well as petals with respect to each other or in relation to each other. So in the flower, right, is called as what? So that is estivation. Let's see the definition. The arrangement of sepals or the petals in relation to one another. In relation to one another. So in the bud condition, especially we consider in bud condition of the flower is called as estivation, right? So this characteristic feature of all the flowering plants is very important for their classification itself, right? So it is important feature of plants that we consider for classification of flowering plants over here, right? So there are different types of estivations that we come across. How the calyx, that is nothing but how the sepals are arranged in the flower and how the petals are arranged in the flower. So let us study now. So based on that, so there are different types of estivations that we come across. First one is valvate estivation. Valvate estivation. What do you mean by valvate estivation? Here it is a type of estivation in which, so both the calyx as well as corolla, so they just touch each other, right? So on the sides itself, that kind of arrangement of either sepals or the petals in the bud condition of the flower is said to be as valvate estivation. What it is known as valvate estivation. See here, we indicate it diagrammatically in this way. So this is valvate estivation, it is called as. Okay, they just touch each other, right? So the condition is said to be as valvate estivation, right? Example for this valvate estivation, so many examples are mentioned in NCERT book, right? So those examples also will consider over here. Along with that one, some other examples will consider over here. Calotropis is given in NCERT, so I can say one more example, that is Datura is the best example for valvate estivation. Calotropis, Datura are the best example for valvate estivation. In the same way, second one is twisted estivation. Twisted in the sense that, so here sepals or the petals during arrangement, so one overlaps on another like this. If all the petals and sepals overlap on each other, then that condition is known as, that estivation itself is known as twisted estivation, right? So example I shall draw over here. See here, these are the sepals what we consider over here. It's twisted type of estivation, in which, see here, all the sepals or the petals overlap on each other, then the condition is known as what? Twisted estivation, right? So this is twisted estivation. And next one is imbricate estivation. Third one is imbricate estivation. What do you mean by imbricate estivation? Imbricate estivation is the one in which, so one of the floral leaf, that is either petal or the sepal, so one of themselves remain inside or internal one, and one of themselves is remaining outside one, and remaining ones are overlapped on one another, then the condition is known as imbricate estivation. Here imbricate estivation I shall draw over here. This is nothing but imbricate estivation, in which one of the sepal or the petal remains inside, means, so on the margins, so the outer one or two over here, it remains internal, and one of them are remaining external one, and remaining one are overlapped on each other. The condition is said to be as imbricate estivation. In imbricate estivation, there we come across two types of estivations. So what are the two types of estivation? One is ascendingly imbricate, and second one is descendingly imbricate. Right? So there are two types. One is ascendingly imbricate and second one is descendingly imbricate. And this descendingly imbricate one is also known as waxillary estivation. what it is also known as auxiliary estivation. This ascending one is not given for syllabus, so this one descending one is auxiliary estivation. It is usually seen in case of beans, right? So P, in such examples we can see in the flower one of the petal itself is larger one, which uncovers two lateral side petals, or so petals called as wings, and they both the lateral side, so wings are uncovering or covering two smaller what petals, and those petals are called as keel, right? So such kind of overlapping of these petals that we come across, see here in the diagram. So auxiliary estivation, auxiliary estivation. In this condition, so there you come across a large petal which uncovers two lateral petals, and this larger one is called as what? Standard petal, which uncovers two petals over here, which are lateral ones, and these two are known as wings. These two are known as wings, and even it is uncovering two smaller petals, and those two smaller petals are uncovered by the wings, and these are called as keel. What they are known as? Keel. And so both of these two are fused each other, right? So both of these two small petals fuse each other, then this kind of estivation is known as what? Auxiliary estivation. The best example for this kind of estivation is which is seen in the flowers of beans, right? So in case of beans, so or in case of pea, okay, you will find this kind of estivation. So imbricate estivation, usually it is seen in case of cassia, gulmour are the best example for this one. Imbricate estivation, example for this one are cassia and gulmour are the best example for this one. And even for twisted estivation, so many of the examples we can give over here. So that is China rose. China rose is the best example for twisted estivation. So this kind of many examples are given in NCERT, focus on themselves, right? So estivations on one side and their respective examples on another side, and match the following is the type of neat question may be asked in the examination, right? So that's why see all those things, and this is about what? Estivation. This is one 5-mark question in theory, so very important one. So what is estivation? What are the types of estivations? Explain. So this kind of question may be asked in the examination, right? So thank you.